Now, I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you about was some general prospects for the Australia-China relationship going forward. I mean, in the quick Google searches I did this afternoon, I found that Australia's ambassador to China, Graham Fletcher, said that Australia should prepare for several years of cold treatment from Beijing, particularly regarding some economics and trade. Mm-hmm. But then also there was a feel-good story in the launch of what they call the G.E. Morrison Institute, named after George Ernest Morrison, the first foreign reporter in China starting in 1895, who was actually an Australian dude from Geelong.
That's good to know. I thought it was named after somebody else.
General Electric Morrison?
Yeah.
And so you just get roasted.
No.
So yeah, they're a business group promoting Australia-China ties. So we've got a bad news story and a good news story. I guess I wanted to ask you, what's your general feeling? What's your general feeling in terms of friendliness between the two nations?
I'm still remaining hopeful. Just day to day in China, I don't have any problems at all. When people ask me where I'm from and I tell them I'm from Australia, they want to know about the Great Barrier Reef. They want to know about kangaroos. They want to know about beef. They want to know about wine. Very rarely do people bring up politics with me. So, but it's the opposite here in Australia. A lot of the time, when you talk about China, politics is the first thing that springs to people's minds. And it's a little bit sad. I guess I'm not a diplomat, so my opinion at the end of the day doesn't really matter. I also don't refer to myself as a China expert. I think of myself as a China learner. But in terms of the future, I think that if Australia can somehow, slightly change the way it expresses itself towards China, I think that would really be a big help in improving the situation, because I think there's been too much sort of grandstanding and chest beating in recent times, and I think those messages have been received very poorly in China. And I just want to say, it's just been a downward spiral. I can remember 4 years ago interviewing the Consul General in Guangzhou, the Australian Consul General in Guangzhou, about free trade agreements between Australia and China, and cultural links and education links, and everything was on the up and up. And then suddenly, probably from about 4 or 5 years ago, things just started to go downhill. And I don't know, I guess 4 years, what's happened in the last 4 years that's made this happen? I did hear something interesting from somebody that I highly respect. I won't say who it is, but they said to me that the problem is that China has changed and we haven't. We as in Australia. And I think that is true. China has changed and we haven't. But it's how you interpret that statement. Because maybe the problem is that we haven't changed. I don't think it's a problem that China's changed, because when you look back on the past and you see that, a majority of the country was living in poverty, and now, absolute poverty in China has been all but eradicated. That's a good change. And there have been other changes in China as well. But if we haven't changed, I think that's a problem. I think we need to change. I think we need to be open to change, and we need to be open to the fact that the world is not static. We always hear about the rule-based rules-based order, but the world changes, and some countries are powerful for a period of time, and then they may lose significance. We've got to move with the times, and we've got to adapt. I think we really do need to learn to adapt as a country, and we really do need to acknowledge the fact that we are not an Anglo-Saxon country. We're a multicultural country. I think it's somewhere like 40% of Australians weren't born here. So we really do need to acknowledge that this idea that we have in our head about what Australia is compared to the reality of Australia are two completely different things. And I think if we can reach that point and we can focus more on our own national interests and balance that with our relationship with China, then hopefully we can move forward, and hopefully we can see some improvements. And, as I said, I'm not a diplomat, but I can already think of a couple of areas that we can work on together, such as climate change. If we as a country can get, kick into gear and do something about climate change, education, travel, tourism. There are a lot of areas that we can find common ground and we can work on together. And, to end my long essay of an answer, I just want to remind people that South Korea once had a very, very tense relationship with China. And that was only a couple of years ago. But we've seen in recent years that the relationship between South Korea and China has improved dramatically. And South Korea was one of the first countries that negotiated a green channel for business travel between South Korea and China during the pandemic. So, nothing is forever. Things change, things evolve, and it's just temporary. I think we can move forward, and I think we can rebuild our relationship with China. I think we need to want to do that, and at the same time, we also need China to want to do that as well. So, yeah, that's a lot to break down, and it's complicated. But I'm remaining hopeful. I think we need more Australians to learn Chinese, and I think we need a more of a diplomatic approach when it comes to China. And China, obviously we talk about how important face is in China. If we as Australia can just give China a little bit of face, it would go a long way.
Preacher brother. We what else are we gonna? I think that'll basically wrap us up. The only other thing I'd add is that I'd hope the intelligence agencies can chill out a little bit. I don't think they're really helping anyone at this point. And
yeah, intelligence agencies, you'd hope there'd be a little bit of emotional intelligence in there as well,
or general intelligence.
Yeah. They got that China spy story way wrong, didn't they? Straight off the bat.
Yep, we called that. First here on the channel.
First people to call it as smoke and BS was on this channel, straight off the bat.
I don't want to comment on Australia's intelligence agencies because I don't want to become a target. Just putting it out there. Love my country.
I'll tell you what, you might already be on the list after tonight.
Taking this interview, you're already on the list.
Who knows? If anything happens and I get thrown in jail, make sure you send me a copy of that Penthouse magazine, just so I'm not.
Absolutely, it'll give you some good
bargaining chips.
Afterlife reading, and just for the record, none of us, at least in this room, are feeling suicidal, particularly. So I just want the intelligence agencies to know that. But anyway. That's going to bring us to the end of this interview. Thank you very much, Hazza. Now, I'm sure you've gained a doubling of your fan base, probably. You're going to get another 100,000 people on your social medias, but where should people follow you, right? Most Australians, or at least in our audience, probably don't have Weibo, but we'll link your Weibo. Where do you want people to check you out?
So you can visit my YouTube channel. It's Hazza China Vlogs. I try to post as much content as I can, but sometimes, life gets in the way. When I'm in China, I have a full-time job, so I try to post as much as possible. But I'm also on Twitter at GDTV Hazza, Hazza. So feel free to follow me there. And just before we go, I did want to ask you one question, if you don't mind.
I love talking about myself.
So obviously I know that you do hold discussions about the China space as an Australian. Have you copped any flack for that? Just from friends, family?
It's definitely our least popular editorial position, but it has been one of the. I did one interview with where I was interviewed by maybe the most anti-China guy on Australia's alternative internet, I get a bit of name calling and stuff, but that's pretty fine with me. The funny thing is that I usually. Often when I discuss China, particularly on shows like that, I'll disclose fully that, I lived in China, was on a Chinese government scholarship for a while, part of the Confucius Institute for a while. And so there's a lot of people who, I don't know, they genuinely believe that I'm a Chinese spy, which is interesting. But, if I was, I wish they would actually pay me some money. So they're not paying me any money right now. So I wish they would. But
they do know that Australian universities give scholarships to Chinese students, right?
Yeah, I tried to get one from the Australian government. They didn't give it to me. Damn bastards. But
are they Australian spies because they've received scholarships? There's a lot of crazy conspiracy theories out there. I've been called all number of things.
A lot.
The worst is traitor. I hate being called a traitor. I think that any Australian engaging in China is patriotic because we need a good relationship with China for the future prosperity of our country. So,
100%.
You mentioned name calling. I think that we need to really just make a decision and say that's not okay. We can't get into name calling when we're talking about serious issues like this. We need to discuss the issues and we need to respect each other's opinions because we all have a different perspective to contribute. I could be wrong, you could be wrong, but at the end of the day, we have to respect each other because if we can't respect each other, how can we respect other countries that's a major issue.
100%. That probably applies across a lot of political issues that are hot today. A little bit less name calling, a little bit more honest engagement.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. All right, we'll let you finish your beer in peace. Thank you very much.